My name's Nina. I'm going to be chair with me, Brian, and Newmar. Without further ado, given the motion, this House prefers a world where all human beings are motivated purely out of concern for others' interests, as opposed to their own interests. To start off the debate, Prime Minister, please. Here, here.
There's a lot of words that define what it means to be motivated purely out of concern for others' own interests. But very simply, it means effective altruism. It means you take the decision to be communitarian, to focus on helping all of society, as opposed to making the selfish decision to help yourself. To this end, our stance is simple. If we can prove this effective altruism is a 100% preferential world to status quo, where we have this hive mind that benefits all of society, we win this debate. The standard that we use to judge this panel is this quality of life in this new counterfactual. There are 4 problems in status quo, where we suggest altruism, where altruism is suggested to a certain degree via structures like religion, via structures like educational systems. Firstly, altruism, even in the best case scenario from negative, derives from selfish intentions. When you're told to donate to the homeless beggar, you're told to do it because it makes you feel good. You're told to do it because it's the right thing to do. You're not told to do this because it's the best optimal decision. That is one that benefits all of society. Therefore, even if you make these decisions, they're influenced by things like religion, by your lived experiences. Secondly, where some altruism exists, I would suggest that people are less likely to go above and beyond. Let's use a thought experiment here. You don't jump into the pool to save the drowning child because it would dirty your shoes. You make that decision because, well, what's a drowning child to me anyway? And this is sort of selfish rhetoric that you imply on the side of negative. Sure.
So in your world where everyone cares about everyone else, your drowning child will just be like, no problem, you can go, I won't survive. So in your world, how does it work? Who decides what is the value or the desire that must cater to or help others?
So I think to some degree, some metrics can objectively be used, like what progresses society more. I'm sorry, yeah, maybe it's a trolley problem debate panel, but to that extent, sure, if the drowning child can't possibly provide, I think if to some degree, there's some objectivity in these decisions, necessarily, sure, fuck the child in some instances. Right, to that extent, thirdly, altruism that in a capitalistic model, considering that's a model of status quo, creates 2 levels of harm. Firstly, profit motives, even for the most benevolent social enterprises, overrides this of altruism. We're not talking about horror stories like Walmart and the 18-hour shifts in reference to the first motion, but we're talking about the fact that even for things like Ramin Bank, which gave loans, always had an interest attached to them to earn profit. But secondly, that where you do have altruism, it only comes about due to 2 reasons. Firstly, corporate social responsibility. Secondly, social backlash. If you fail to live up to those standards in status quo, you are punished. And only because of those call-outs, the boycotts, the individuals decide to take upon your corporation and your firm, that's a point in which where you're likely to be altruistic. So we've indicated even bona fide, those interests are real. But lastly then, altruism affects the bigger picture. The bigger picture here is states and political cycles. When you make decisions, you think of yourself. You don't think of the community as a whole. You deprioritize minorities because, well, as a privileged Chinese individual living in Malaysia, I'm sorry, maybe the Dayaks don't deserve some rights. That's the sort of heuristic you encourage and you feed on their side of the house. Fine. First level that this debate operates in. It operates in a predetermined structure. Let's be clear about that. Let's be at the whole debate about every and the rest, and like the analysis for this is first, we are all equally violated by the birth lottery. We're all screwed equally. Secondly, then, where you have no choice in race, sexual preferences, the literal family that you're born in, the only agency that you then are yielded is what you decide to do and whether you decide to focus on your own interests or others' own interests. It is again come from a very micro example of picking up the last fruit and giving it to the hungry child who wanted that fruit. Because, well, maybe the hungry child might be able to posit a better future for the world. Those benefits are speculative. But to that extent, effective altruism in this structure raises the objective standard of living for vast amounts of individuals as you gain that moral ascendancy of making that trade-off. Why is this important then in this context? And why is this context important in this debate? Firstly, it allows for a real degree of objectivity in a world that robs you of it. First, and there are 4 reasons for this. Like first, moral ascendancy forces you to juxtapose yourself. We say that it's true, that perhaps in negative, you may consider these thoughts prima facie. You may just think, okay, maybe I want to give the apple, this child won't waste the apple ni lah, fuck off. That's the sort of rationale that exists on the outside of the house. But here, when you realize that helping the child might grow up be a potential leader, and you take him back at his best case, bona fide, there's a point in time where you never know. You raise a leader who could change well, I mean, hypothetical Malaysia in that scenario, if states still exist. But secondly, then, where you then commit to these principles, you are able to mitigate the harms, the political structures that come about from bad discussions. No longer will we stand here shouting 7 minutes at each other. I mean, shouting for 7 minutes at each other to persuade each other of ideas every single weekend. Because in this world, all ideas are equally valued. Individuals won't participate even in petty discussions like debates or like larger political discussions, because now all discussions are centric upon the best way to achieve optimal results for society. These structures realize, panel, that political structures oftentimes, where they exist, even in their best case scenario, that want to yield optimal help to the poorest of the poor, exist because of privileged structures. That white men oppressed the world for the longest time ever, and they still yield the fruits of considering themselves at the forefront of moral legitimacy. We need to take that away. We need to deconstruct that world. There are two standards to weigh out this debate. The first standard is necessarily how it benefits individuals, and secondly, how it benefits society as a whole. If we can show you the objective quality of living goes up, we win this debate. On the first question, where it benefits individuals, firstly, I mean the first level, if all individuals are altruistic, the total standard and sum of humanity is one that's coerced to be happy. We're willing and happy to take a trade-off. On the second level, where aggregate good exists, sure.
So for the vast majority of social movements and social activists, the reason why they disrupt civil society in order to further their rights was because they believe their own interests paramount. How do you get any of those activism on your side?
Why would you need social activism? Everyone considers everyone equally good. Sometimes minorities can contribute back to society, like Black President America, done, counterfactual. Oh, I mean, CEO, find a better case, oh, it's going to rob you. Right, but and that happens in a world where necessarily we don't have effective altruism. Right, on the second level, where we have aggregate good, you condition individual society to never challenge these norms because they're totally accepted worldwide and globally. You consider helping others as good no matter what. Therefore, when it is paramount, and on the third level, you deconstruct patriarchal structures, you deconstruct ableism, you deconstruct classism. People who were never proximate to you, such as a disabled individual in a wheelchair, are now individuals you consider helping. And why is that good for you as an individual? And on the fourth level, because even where it was coerced, it is a genuine thought, it is a genuine process you want to participate. Last premise, and if I can finish this, my DPM will do so. How does it benefit society? Firstly, it mitigates the harms of capitalism, research and development that oftentimes is asymmetrical, and bad governance. Because now when you focus on aggregating total good, you're likely to make decisions that help society as a whole. Something non-genesis Evangelion, that's the context for this debate. But to that extent, we've already shown you how it benefits society, why individuals are likely to be happier taking this policy, and why the vast majority of the world will be better off. OG wins this debate.
All right, thank you, Prime Minister. To open the case of opposition, Leader of Opposition, please. In my luggage. Oh, there you are. Maybe if I talk about this interest. Here's something. I don't trust.
Okay. Sorry, I'm studying. So I'm kind of tired. My brain is not functioning at maximum capacity right now. And also at the same time, I think this motion is a little broken. So I'm going to attempt to use the English language to verbalize my thoughts in opposition to this case. So bear with me as I speak really slowly because I'm helping myself by speaking really slowly. So here's my problem with that. The problem is I do not know who do I want to help. The additional problem is, so the first reason of why I don't know who I want to help is because no one is asking for help. The reason why no one is asking for help, or no one indicates that they need help, is because they're all acting in the interest of other people. So, take the situation of someone in a burning building. You would think that a fireman or anyone interested in helping that person would run into that burning building and help that person. But that person in the burning building is like, no. You might get burned. You might die. Don't come in. I die. Right? And this is presumably what's going to happen here.
And I think that means it's very difficult for individuals to allocate and in this world identify who needs help and give the appropriate amount of help. So, a couple of responses first. No, sorry. I'm going to move my arguments. My responses will be integrated. Now, A. Why should people care about themselves? First reason is because every struggle is unique. And all struggles are different. Like, the things that Indian people go through in this country is quite different from the things that Malay people go through in this country. And the person who has the best, most unique capability to help person X is person X, because they actually know how much utility person X needs. So even though if others act consistently in the interest of other people, they cannot effectively help that individual because they can never empathize with said struggle. You might ask, couldn't person X, the Indian person, communicate said struggles to the other individual, right? And this is where I guess just linguistic barriers stop you from being able to effectively tell someone how bad the thing you are going through is. Additionally, again, point back to the initial thing I said about you not even telling them because you're acting in their interest. Secondly, we argue that people should act in their, people should care about themselves because this allows the efficient operation of human interaction. We all have a limited time to live a meaningful life on this earth. And at the point in which we are constantly helping ourselves and we are best able to help ourselves maximize our utility and other people aren't able to best help us maximize our utility, we need to do this quickly on our side. Even if at some point in time, others figure out how best to help you, that might be too late because the ability for you to communicate that uniqueness of that struggle might take too long. Additionally, I think in the pursuit of helping others, you might just end up draining yourself, right? You create more sadness for yourself. Because this is what on the net people in general feel. They feel like, I've helped everyone in this world, but no one can effectively help me. And that's just true, right? Because no one can effectively understand the uniqueness of your struggle. So in the pursuit of helping others, I feel like people just end up being a lot more drained. So lastly, also on how, thirdly, on how you don't know who to help, right? And the conclusion to this is that, as I pointed out earlier, when no one asks for help, the premise of this argument is, there are constants in life, right? Things like geographical disadvantages, climate disadvantages that various people in different parts of the world exist. So again, the uniqueness of various struggles. So if no one asks for help, but at the same time everyone is interested in helping others, the amount of utility that then you rationally conclude that others need is always X, right? So regardless of whether you're a poor person or a really rich person, let's say utility is measured in the amount X, right? You are going to want to give person the utility amount in X, right? What this means is that this is particularly problematic because the poor person giving out X is a lot more disadvantageous to them than the rich person giving out X. So the critical point here is that if you can't identify need, then everyone uniformly will only help each other in a uniform way. Again, utility X, right? And this is disproportionate to needs because people don't get the amount of help that they need, and this is disproportionately hurts the poor people. No. What's the time now? 4:40. Oh, sorry, what? Oh, yeah, take opening. Take closing, sorry.
Given that in your world whereby it's purely out of self-interest, how do you know that to what extent is enough or to what extent do not exploit the max of other people in order to fulfill your own self-interest? What's the metric?
So I think you don't know, but you know what you need, and that's a great way to form a society, which is what I'm going to talk about now. Why is individualism means that we can likely form the best form of society that helps everyone in general, right? The first thing I'll go point out here is that acting individualistically can also include helping other people. Why? Because you want things like pride, fame, approval from other people. So if someone's drowning, the kid's drowning, you'd be like, if I go save this kid, I'm going to be like real cool, I'm going to get a medal and shit, right? That might be a good reason for someone to actually receive help at the same time. But also, everyone acting in the self-interest of themselves is a great way to form a social contract, right? Which is to suggest that if everyone acting in the self-interest would create this form of reciprocity, which is everyone trades off a particular right that they have to harm someone else so that everyone individually benefits. What I mean by this, for example, if we all acting in the self-interest agree that no one should lie, then everyone in that society will not be a victim of a lie at that point. I'm not saying the things of lies like killing, and robbing and so on and so forth. Like an economic extension of this argument, for example, would be an individual experiencing self-interest purely and perhaps not acting in the interest of another group, for example, like white people in general or black people in general, might realize that there's a high economic utility to migration and therefore be less xenophobic in general, meaning migration will help them as an individual, so therefore I have a good reason to not be xenophobic to these people. Additionally, these are the same economic interests that would fight for the economic inclusion of women within the economy, right? They'd be like, more women working means greater expertise, better economy, this benefits me at the same time. And I think this generally forms part of that social contract. Incorporating minorities and being fair to minorities is inherently within your self-interest at the same time. And at least you know that they will effectively be helped, as opposed to your side, that even if prima facie they all want to help each other, but they just don't know how to help each other, then that society just operates dysfunctionally. In conclusion, I think society in general has been operating in self-interest thus far. There's no such thing as altruism. We all care about ourselves, we all care about other people. And we're doing great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. To continue the case of government, EPM, please.
Right. Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. Hope's only contention is that, hey, if everyone wants to help each other, suddenly I don't know who to help. Maybe someone can ask for help, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. If your government works on utilitarian, maybe they can prioritize certain poor people that need more help in terms of situation as well. Maybe they can prioritize and know who is needed more help as well. I don't think it's a situation where everyone can just go on and say, hey, I want to be a martyr and self-sacrifice myself at the end of the day. Even if that's true, and you want to self-sacrifice yourself, and you want to endure that suffering to not burden others, I think that's fine. Because it also comes at a point that if that other person, if you want to self-sacrifice for the other person's benefit, the other person can progress in their life and utilize it better further, that's also a bullet that we're willing to bite at the end of the day. Let's look at the debate that happens. Because they never actually can counter or engage with some nuances what actually I've been on to because of how society works on a structural level. The fact that when you actually operate into this particular situation, that utilitarian calculus, your utilitarianism or your altruism will ensure that certain issues that let's talk about, like normal debate issues that you guys like you talked about, like racism, gentrification, poverty, and we always argue the fact that you want to create certain amount of empathy towards these people, to create some form of relation, to actually understand these people better. Those empathy comes from you knowing and thinking about the other person. Your secondary so-called, hey, you want to have self-interest and also you may help people, are also, all of those are secondary benefit. As Eddie pointed out, more like it not, you're fully relying that these people want to have that particular fame and poverty. If they don't, it means that they will screw over other people. These people want to help the poor or want to help the women in this particular situation. More likely than not, history has proven to us that in a hierarchical structure, people at the top and elitists are more likely to use their power to oppress those below them, to ensure that their powers will not be taken at the end of the day because of their self-preservation and self-interest in the particular situation. We cannot rely on the basis that there is a form of possibility that it can do that, because those are something that is purely consequential and exception to the rule at the end of the day. We think on an aggregate basis, people thinking about other people more and creating that link is particularly important and much more beneficial to how people interact with society. This leads on to my extension, because I'll analyze to you how this interaction will play out. Because I'll posit to you that when people actually interacts in a selfish or self-interest manner, those interactions more likely leads to a win-lose situation. Because there are times when you act in this situation because of malice. There are times when you act on those situations because you want profit, that you want something out of that interaction and you want to gain something from the other person at the end of the day. I'll posit to you that if you act on other people, based on other people interaction, you create a more win-win scenario and a win-win interaction to how society functions, and you can grow society even better at the end of the day. Before I went for the show opening,
What are your thoughts on this? If everyone cares about everyone, is it their self-interest to care about everyone?
yes, and if we live in a fair society and everyone lives around rainbows, I don't think that's a problem if everyone cares about everyone. And like, what's your comparative there? If you want to care about everyone, you can create that society. It doesn't necessarily matter to me. Let's look at how those interactions occur, because we cannot understand. You understand that in a law situation, when you're particularly selfish, you think of a situation where the reason why I interact with these people, or the reason why I want to keep in particular connection, or the reason why I want to talk to these people, is usually because there's something that I want to gain towards these people, or there's something that I want to push them forward at the end of the day. It's just a win-lose situation towards these people. What does a win-win situation naturally look like? It's a situation where you people you have ability to empathize and you want to come to a middle ground at one time. This debate usually happens when there are clashes and people want to engage with each other, and those kind of things happens when I correlate or I understand you better. You create a more sympathetic, thoughtful bond, or sympathetic, empathetic, and thoughtful bond between the interaction that happens. How does this then play out in situation where you think like, oh, maybe you want to negotiate, or maybe you want to like open a shop or things like that? It also comes to a point that you will think about the other person and you create what is the background comparison to in a self-interest situation. You act violently or you act in terms of you want to attack the other person and you put another person on the defensive. This is particularly harmful when you consider in a lot of situations there's also power structure that's in place in society that puts certain people on the lower end, and there's asymmetry of power that forces certain people to be constantly lose out in any form of negotiation or any form of agreement that can happen at the end of the day. At the aggregate, we think that when you consider the empathetic value, you create a more situation where people want to talk and want to do that. How does this reflect into society? Well, everyone pointed to you that you can also deconstruct certain hierarchical structure in society, because now you don't necessarily have people at the top constantly want to keep their self-preservation and oppress people at the bottom and not create the pyramidal structure that we learned in history class about, like the bottom structure is slavery in the first place. You're now more likely to treat people equally. But at the same time, if you treat people equally, it comes to a point that everyone may or may not necessarily face the same problem or unique problem at the end of the day that you can't possibly solve. You also start to treat people or start to treat society to move forward progressively together at the end of the day. You don't want to treat a situation where you want to oppress the black minority because they look different and you want to use them as slaves, as workforce, because they are not a part of us and you don't have that us against them mentality at the end of the day. You move society and you move societal value, and you move any benefit of the outcome of society forward together as a society. Realize that we tell you that the way you need to judge this debate is based on what is the best way of how does it create a better societal living at the end of the day. I've been already told you, how society works, it's much more better if you think about other people, that it's easier for you to solve a lot of social problems at the point in time. But I tell you as well that on an individual level, when you create a situation where the interaction that you have is more empathetical and thoughtful in the progress, you also create a win-win situation on how you not just interact with other people around you, but also to progress society forward to ensure that we take all of these steps together at the end of the day, like Liverpool, that no one gets left behind. We think that's particularly important how you want to view society. We cannot work with a society that's false structured, that continuously oppress others for self-preservation. If we want society or humanity progress, we must take that step together forward. And the only way for you to do that is for you to think about other people and those that are surrounding you.
Okay.
So we think the problem in this debate is that because OG hasn't clearly set up or characterized what this world looks like and how people will actually behave, this has allowed OO to get away with muddying up the debate with endless amounts of linguistic confusion. We think, oh, what we're going to do in CG is we're going to clear this confusion out. We're going to show and establish what this world will actually look like and how people will actually behave, and we're going to show on an economic, social, and moral level why this world is actually preferable. All rebuttals will be integrated. 3 points of action for today. First, why this world enriches the human experience by encouraging you to understand as many perspectives as possible. Second, why this world has economic and social benefits by overcoming the parity of the commons. And third, why this world has currently better and more fulfilling human relationships and support structures. So first part of the section. Why does this world encourage people to actively attempt to understand as many perspectives as possible? And here's where we are going to deal with this confusion about how the world would evolve into chaos because everyone would just be refusing help that other people are selflessly offering them. Right? We don't think this will actually happen. This idea of how drowning or burning people would refuse to be saved and flee from their rescuers, right? You think ultimately this isn't going to happen in our world, right? Because if you see the firefighter actively coming in to save you when the building you are in is on fire, you know ultimately it is in you know ultimately that's something that they want to do, right? They want to save you because they care about you. They would be sad if they were forced to watch you die because you were running away. That means that ultimately you aren't going to run away from them and make their job even harder, which means that you have an incentive to allow them to rescue you and you won't refuse help at all costs. If you know that someone is willing to help you, especially if you know that it won't especially hurt them to help you because, for example, they are a trained firefighter, or because, for example, they know how to swim and therefore even if they are in the pool, they won't drown as well. This means that you have no reason to go out of your way to avoid help, right? So ultimately, this ultimately also is where we are going to respond to this idea, no thank you, of how the black person would perfectly fine with continuing to be oppressed, right? We think this isn't true for several reasons. First, because the black person cares about other black people who are also being oppressed. Second, because the black person sees ultimately that white people aren't actually significantly hurt by stopping the oppression that they're carrying out. No, thank you. And third, ultimately, because inside the world there probably wouldn't be systematic oppression of black people or of any other race in the first place. Right? Given that ultimately the white people wouldn't have acted out of pure self-interest either. So what does this world actually look like? And here's the unique clarity that is finally coming through. Right? We think that in this world, your interests still exist, you just are not motivated by them, right? There are still things that objectively benefit you and things that objectively hurt you, right? No, thank you. This means, for example, that if you are discriminated against, if you are forced to be homeless, for example, because your money is taken away, this objectively hurts you. What this means, however, is that you are just not motivated by, for example, stopping this case or improving your own self-interest as the motivation that you have for your actions in life. No, thank you. What does this mean? Right? This means every person continues to have their own unique perspective. Right? This crucially means that we don't, in fact, succumb to the confusion that OO is talking about when no one can understand what other people's perspectives are because everyone's perspective, no thank you, consists entirely of other people's perspectives. We don't end up in this endless recursion because people's perspectives ultimately still do exist, and the incentive in this world is to actively try to empathize with and understand as many people's perspectives as possible. No, thank you. Because if you are purely motivated by a type, help others, this means you will go out of your way to try to understand what people are going through, what they are suffering, and how you can actually help them deal with difficulties that they are going through in life. Hold on a minute. This means, for example, that
that, for example, you have an interest, they try to understand what disabled people go through, for example, or what new immigrants in the country go through, and ultimately this also helps to deal with the idea that only these people have themselves, only they know their own interests best. But more than sure,
What is your stance on suicide?
we don't see how that is relevant to the debate. We ultimately don't think that that's something that is very crucial in this debate. Okay, so we think ultimately, right, and this also deals with the point that only you can help yourself because you only know your interests best. We think in a society where everyone is constantly trying to understand what other people are going through, this comprehension barrier breaks down over time, and this ultimately has two main benefits. Right? First of all, we think for people it enriches human experience and its character building because you understand as wide a range of things as possible. Secondly, we think this helps society because society as a whole is constantly proactively trying to equalize differences, and we think that that's a much fairer world. No, thank you. So transitioning here to the second extension, right? We think that ultimately there are economic and social benefits to a world where everyone is proactively trying to equalize society, right? And here's again where we're going to deal with this idea of marginalized groups and poor and bad people, right? We think that the difference is that in this world, people consciously try to allocate people's on an objectively fair basis by figuring out what a fair basis is, right? In the world of OO where people compromise by figuring out compromises based on everyone's respective self-interest, this still means that power issues play a role because who has a seat at the table, who expresses their own self-interest, determines what the final compromise is. No, thank you. That doesn't happen in the world where everyone is proactively trying to establish what a fair basis for judicial process is. We think this also means that everyone acts in a much more collaborative way and gets around the problem of the hierarchy of performance as well. Third extension on the idea of human relationships, right? We think ultimately that the problem in the self-interested world, right, is that ultimately true friendships, true relationships, and true support networks don't really exist, right? Because ultimately friendships are based entirely on self-interest, right? Whether this is direct material interest or the idea of getting approval from others, for example, or even superficial things like whether somebody provides you with entertainment, right? This leads first of all to constant anxiety about your own self-esteem because you are never sure whether or not your friends actually like you or not. Secondly, this leads to controlling and manipulative behavior as people desperately try to gain the approval of others in order to make themselves feel better, right? We think in a world where everyone can trust that everyone is looking out for everyone else, we think ultimately this constant anxiety goes to lead us in much more fulfilling human relationships and much better support networks in the long run, right? And this also deals with the idea that people will self-optimizing to the point of creating themselves. Right? We think in a world where everyone is looking out for each other, we don't think this would happen because even if you look out for yourself, your friends genuinely care about you and will stop you from being oppressed or taken advantage of. Right? We think CG is the only team in this debate that actually understands the world that's going on, and for this reason, we're doing this debate.
Thank you, Member of Government. Member of Opposition, please.
Interesting.
The fundamental problem with always being told that you should sacrifice your own happiness for the happiness of others leads to the worst kinds of oppression for the most vulnerable individuals that deserve an opt-out clause, but is oftentimes being blocked because they have to care about the people around them, like women or individuals who are depressed. We think these are the most vulnerable groups of individuals who won't be able to think of their own interests because they must always think about what would happen for other people. I'm going to talk about 4 things in this speech. Number 1, what does fighting for other people's interests actually means? Second, why is it that the most amount of utility can be derived from closing opposition? Third, why is it that through this particular policy, you allow for the rhetoric that is cast by the people in power to further subjugate individuals who have otherwise no opt-out clause? First, according to the role of the government, they seem to automatically assume that when you fight for the rights of other people, you automatically fight for the rights of the most vulnerable. This is just categorically false. All this motion allows you to fiat is that you'll think of other people's interests, not specifically the people who need help the most. What does this world look like on government? This often looks like a world in which people oftentimes use the euphemism that I'm helping, for example, the cause of my country, or I'm helping my family-in-law. This looks a lot like a world in which abusive husbands will regularly tell their wives or tell themselves, for instance, that it is okay for me to abuse because that's my tradition, that's where I come from, or I'm just appeasing my mother-in-law, and will never actually be able to, for instance, internalize that harm that they think are going to be imposed on them. What we will posit at this stage is that the kind of harm that OG talked to you about was this very, very strange idea that black people are going to be subjugated in this particular instance. But look, it is not like all of the white people think that the oppression was caused due to their selfishness. Rather, they oftentimes find excuses for their conduct, such as, I'm actually helping the middle class individuals, or all of the discriminatory policies oftentimes have a way around it by claiming that I'm helping the interest of the middle class, I'm helping the interest of my fellow comrades. Or for example, when states tell you that like the reason why I'm doing this is not intentionally to fuck over the poor, that's like unavoidable byproduct of, for instance, booming our economy globally that takes care of everyone else in society. By your metric, you are virtually saying that that is an acceptable stance because you care about the interests of other people, but diametrically is opposed to the help that is like the help or the situation that the most vulnerable people find themselves in. So what you need to clarify is why at the point where you look or care about the interests of other people, why would you automatically care about the lowest common denominator in that particular world? It is just unclear to me why that would happen. No, thank you. The second thing I want to point out is the locus of control. So this is somewhat similar, but it's a vertical extension from opening opposition. What opening opposition told you was that no one else can approximate the same level of pain as you. We're going to go one step further. It is beyond just weighing a speculative benefit versus a benefit of the help that you are assured of. This looks a lot like individuals oftentimes questioning themselves if the help that they are giving is something that is legitimate or is well received by people. Because what we posit at this stage is that help or the true concern for other people is an unattainable standard that people will never be able to reach. When you try to help individuals in vain, you oftentimes question yourself, is this help well received or am I doing enough? That's why when individuals see their friends commit suicide inadvertently, they oftentimes question how much more help could I actually be given to that person, even though it is not their fault that they are being placed in that circumstance. This is because you entrench the idea that you should always care about the interests of other people, and this leads to a byproduct when people feel guilty at the inability to meet that artificial standard of care. So people will question the ability for they themselves to be able to help other people, and they will think like it's their fault that they are placed in that particular situation. But leading on to that example, you oftentimes allow people in power to mobilize structures that are bad. Because beyond the fact that like you as an individual feel a constant sense of worry of whether I've done enough for this particular individual, I think what is more harmful is that when you allow powerful individuals to essentialize that particular rhetoric. How does this work? We would suggest that the specific context where this is oppressive is to two groups of people. So particularly, I'll take you in a moment, particularly to women and for individuals who are suffering from mental health issues. But before I move on, yes.
If your incentive is to do your best to understand and help other people, and if the other people has the most urgent interest in being helped because they're suffering the most, that's why you have the incentive to help them the most in the world outside.
No, that is categorically untrue. Just because you want to help other people, you don't evaluate urgency. Like you don't evaluate who you help purely based on urgency. You think you can also choose, like you can also have a bizarre conception about who you're helping in this particular debate. So you can, for instance, say, example, that I'm helping my country by conscripting soldiers without giving due credit to the fact that this might not be an action that is morally legitimate. How does this look like? The states weaponize the ability for women and depressed individuals particularly. Why is this the case? For instance, women has for far too long been suppressed and told that you need to care for your family and you have to leave your job or you cannot pursue your career because you need to help other people. You need to help your family, you need to help your mother-in-law. These are the kind of narratives that entrench and make individuals feel worse about themselves in those situations. Specifically, this looks like a world, no, thank you. This looks like a world in which people who are abused in domestic violence feel unable to speak out or seek recourse for themselves. The reason for this is because they are constantly being told that they cannot search their own happiness because they must abandon this unique form of personalized happiness for the benefit of other people. For instance, I need to appease my mother-in-law, so I shouldn't complain or I shouldn't divorce because my mother-in-law tells me that this is particularly important. That's why we think that the version of health that they are talking about is an artificial and unattainable standard in today's debate. Because of this, we cannot assume that just because you want to be benevolent, the help is necessarily going to be received well in that specific way. But even if we accept that the help is going to be received in this specific way, the idea that individuals will never truly feel that they have helped other people, because the nature of human beings is that you always feel that you haven't done enough. We don't think that the narrative of people oftentimes feeling worthless about themselves, feeling incapable to help other people, is something that is justified. We think when people pursue their own interests, they're unlikely, for example, to get all of the betrayal in friendships that Ariel talked to you about. The reason for this is because you don't expect other people to care for you. You realize that the happiness that you get is within your own locus of control. So all of the benefits that they claim will no longer be particularly relevant in this debate, because you weigh your own happiness and utility based on your own metric of how it serves you personally, as opposed to expecting other people to be there for you. The problem with government's bench is that they assume that they are going to help the most vulnerable people, but they also assume that individuals will be better off in that world. The help you get is an artificial standard. You cannot actually achieve it, and that's why we oppose.
Thank you, Member of Opposition. Government Whip, please.
Fellow opposition, I'm first going to help to characterize how the world looks like after Ariel's characterization. It looks like in a world whereby our current status quo, that you have your own self-interest, let's say corporations, whether or not to invest overseas, whether or not to export the most vulnerable group to maximize your self-interest, etc. This rational thinking exists on our metric. It's just that whether or not it applies to other people's interests. These look like three areas. Firstly, it can be possible that in your rational thinking, you are a more emotional person. You tend to only look out for the interests of your close immediate families. You still think that that's a prior good, and this helps to better, like what Ariel said, interpersonal relationships, because your family members are better able to interact with each other. Those kind of domestic violence that Shari talked to you about will not occur in our case. Those kind of domestic violence, those kind of propagating patriarchal beliefs will not happen. Why is it so? On the individual level, if you're emotional, you care about even just say the individuals, your immediate family members, you're more likely going to treat them better. You're less likely going to speculate and think that you have the worst intentions against you because you're self-interested. You want to have a self-defense mechanisms against other people. This is what, no thank you, this is what the entire opposition bench want to pay. You are the only one in this world that who cares about you, and you're the only savior for the world. This is very problematic because this cuts you off your support. I'll be talking about it later in my speech. I'm going on to the second mode of like how do you think in terms of rational thinking, right? This is in terms of you are being a rational thinker. You are very long-sightedness, i.e., if you are self-interested and you're long-sightedness, these are corporations that invest in new industries. These are corporations that put in more inputs to gain the maximum output. For instance, this looks like what it looks like in our world is that look, you are more educated. You know that there are more immediate people who need the help, which i.e. the black communities, which i.e. the people who used to exploit, who are on the verge of like let's say the Rohingyas, etc. That has more agencies. This rational thinking, this ability to evaluate the differences between like the urgencies, the severity, still exists in our world. This clarifies the entire and about the case of both OO and derivative of CO, which is all question begging about why this doesn't work in the first place. You know, if there are only marginal benefits, right? No, thank you. I already told you 2 points, or like the entire OO tells you 2 points. First point coming from Amri is net interest will be 0 because everyone is giving, so the same kind of resources circulate around. I think the first thing that I realize is math isn't Amri's strength. I'm not telling you why this the net 0 will not, no thank you, will not be 0. Understand that having one company innovate with another company, sharing resources, this not only mean that the same kind of competition, the same kind of market that they want to tap on will increase. It means that the ability to innovate more, to share more resources, to use more funding to buy a more expensive machine that can be more productive, that will benefit more people as a whole, will then occur. No, thank you. Only on the economic level, like what Ariel has talked to you about, that the collaboration will actually happen. It means that your net interest will multiply more times that you are just being self-interested and lead to a lot of competition, for instance, right? I think for that, yes, correct.
The reason why white people are racist is they act in the interest of their white community and their white brothers. Black people like themselves to the interest of their other brothers. Why not everyone care for themselves and then somehow come to a compromise sometimes, because sometimes we all want to live in this world.
I think in that case, there's a key assumption that I'm going to deal with. The key assumption is that sometimes, once in a blue moon, white people's interests will coincide with black people's interests. Therefore, I will want to help them. If you listen to Amri's example that she gave you, that because black people commit crime, therefore it is unsafe. White people will want their community to be safe. Therefore, this is only when they are self-interested to help. Firstly, in the first place, black communities are freaking far away from white communities. They are in like the poorest of the poor areas, and there are a lot of black against black crimes within this community itself. If you're interested, if in their case, in the opposition case, black people are always self-interested. This is where you have black against black crimes. Because these instances, you're only self-interested. You tend to look out for other people in an area of like scarcity of resources. The ability for you to survive is the utmost priority. Therefore, it's likely that your secluded areas that no thank you, they are different from your rich areas, your condominiums with security guards that block all these kind of black people in the first place will not exist in the first place, right? Within these kind of secluded black communities, it worsens the case, which means that they are only benefit about people being self-interested taken away, right? No thank you. I want to address the second scenario that they've given you. No thank you. This kind of scenario is that but people have their own problems. You only understand your own problems. I think that's another assumption. It's a very narrow perspective if you look at these things. Understand that a lot of cases, like the entire opposition bench haven't really told you why these problems exist in the first place. Why would you be depressed? Why would you be depressed? Because of like probably you don't have the best jobs. Probably because you're competing with your friend. You don't really look as pretty as a friend. You are not really as smart as Humphrey. These are the reasons precisely leading to a lot of problems that happens in the first place. That these problems sometimes are rooted in the precise reasons that because no thank you, that competition exists, that you are only purely self-interested. This problem therefore is the root. No thank you. I think even if you assume that you know yourself best, in most cases, you don't have the ability. It's better to ask for crowdfunding. It's better to ask for other people to help you. For instance, a lot of crowdfunding online for your own entrepreneurship. Perhaps you know your goal best. Perhaps you know the way to self-actualize best. You don't have enough resources to help out. In their case, they will shut out people because it will be a huge barrier to entry to even want to try to help out others in the first place. No, thank you. I think in last level, I want to talk to you about why the entire opposition bench falls on a hole. I think that it fails to tackle the crux of this debate, which like the philosophical or like the arguments that makes what makes humans humans. I think we first need to radically imagine a world whereby humans are no longer self-interested. We no longer need to look out for penalties to control our actions. We no longer need to look out for states to constantly know that you use laws to regulate our actions. It will be in a world whereby even if we can only see our most immediate community, we are able to help our most immediate community and know that we are helping our most immediate community. How does this look like? And why is this empirically better, right? Understand that it means that as someone who might be self-interested in just academics or my own immediate family, if I'm interested in the interest of other people, I will be able to give a more fulfilling life. Why is this so? If I'm only self-interested, I will only care about the same kind of life that probably like a lower middle class Chinese girl will actually live through when we live in Singapore. But if I'm actually interested in the interests of other people, I'm probably able to understand the hardships of people like Sherwin who actually travels all the way to Malaysia to always debate tournaments, or like other people, so like my mom who is actually working overtime most of the time. I think this means that you're able to get a rich life that Amri wants to talk to you about. The kind of richness in your life, the kind of meaningful as a human being. The contract that we always talk about is that we always want to be safe. We always pay ourselves against it. But this notion is the only opportunity that provides you the environment, provides you the chance for you to finally actualize as a human being, for you to live the full experience of not just being selfish and short-sighted and live a short life that's constantly self-interested. We think that even in the worst case scenario that there are a lot of firefighters dying in terms of fire, we think that their life are more meaningful, their life have more rich meaning that we will actually propose in our new world, brave new world. Therefore, so proud to propose. Woo!
Thank you. To finally end the debate, opposition bid, please.
Senior representative.
Yes. I think that in a debate about philosophy in general, the metrics in which we use to judge this debate needs to be which world provides the most utility, which world provides the most happiness. Because we cannot say that in certain instances, certain outcomes are more beneficial or certain outcomes are harmful, because the lenses in which we view it is one that is self-interest. That is to say that the world of the government needs to be viewed from the lenses of one that people actually care about others, and that's something that needs to be evaluated. That is why the metrics in which we use to judge the debate needs to be one that is happiness. Therefore, if we can show you in CO, right, and we have shown you in CO, that a world where people prioritize their own self-interest is one where people are far more likely to actually have more happiness, and people are far more likely to actually care about care about themselves, as a result of that have more happiness, then we can show that this world comparatively has more happiness than that of government. We win this debate. So let's first deal with the case coming from the government, because at this point in the debate, I still don't see why their side of the house brings more happiness. At best, CG gives us a working model or proves to us why this world can be functional. They have yet to prove to us why this world brings more happiness to that side, brings more happiness towards the general population of people within society. Let's go through this one by one. There is one question that we really need to dissect in this debate, and one that CO answers to bring you the most. What is this world of care? What is care? Standards of care of what is for the betterment of others is what you think is good, based on your own subjective moral values. For example, Nisha. That's why Sarge told you very clearly in extension that with people who share different moral values, it becomes ambiguous and at best difficult for you to decide what is actually caring for others. If you don't personally support suicide, for instance, and your friend supports suicide and wants to commit suicide because he doesn't feel life has any more meaning, do you then stop him or do you not? And moral ambiguity was never resolved with the word of the government. At best, their concern for others means that if they will let people commit suicide, but then if they then accept that committing suicide is bad for the community, it then contradicts the whole idea of wanting to care for others to start with. So it's morally ambiguous under that side, whether or not letting a friend commit suicide because you are concerned about it brings them a moral good. Have a seat. The second thing that we argue in extension as well is that trying to care for others does not actually mean caring for others. That is to say, trying to make the world a better place does not actually mean to make the world a better place. The first thing we say is that moral standards or morals are different. In the case of suicide, for instance, or for example, like having sex before marriage, if you think that it's a bad thing, but someone wants to do it with you, do you do it with them or not? Do you prioritize? In like most instances, like in governments, well, maybe you will prioritize them, and that's a bad thing towards you. But like in that case, they wouldn't do it towards you. Like the whole cycle continues. But CJ's response towards this particular dilemma is to say that people have moderate levels of intelligence. That is to say that they say that if they know that jumping into the river to save a child, because even though they don't know how to swim, leads to both of them dying, they won't do it. The problem is this argument stops there. It does not extend beyond the fact of actually helping people at the end of the day. How then do you decide what is best for society? How then do you decide whether you prioritize what you think is like good for yourself, or especially when it comes to a zero-sum game, there's no analysis of who do you prioritize when one is better. Have a seat. The most they give us with regards to this is to say that when we talk about concern for others, we're talking about the communities around us. They then give us the narrative that on the outside of the house, black people fight black people. But this is like contradictory, right? Because by their own analysis, if they say that people prioritize the communities around them, then they have to concede that police use the narrative that we are protecting our own interests as the police force. This is a form of self-defense. So by their own logic, like even if the concern for others or the community immediately around you within the police force means that you sacrifice the communities of the black people which you feel are threatening you, that means that on balance, there's more harm within a world where people have the ability to, where people are more likely to care for other people like that. Have a seat. The third and most important part of our extension with regards to people where members of society have been constantly fed a narrative that they have to sacrifice themselves for the good of others. We give you examples of conscription. We give you examples of people who are depressed. We give you examples of women who are constantly told that they have to sacrifice themselves in order to serve other people. The problem with this narrative is while it is noble and wants to give the good to others, at the point where you continuously sacrifice yourself, you are no longer able to provide that care towards other people. So in the sort of situation, in the world where a woman is, or where a mother is constantly told to like sacrifice her well-being to take care of her children, the point where she's suffering and she is sick means that she's no longer able to take care of her children, which means that in that world there's actually less utility and less happiness. Before I go on, I'll take opening.
What if everyone compromise? That you beat up your wife, make her sad, you don't beat your wife. You kill yourself, make your friend sad, you don't kill yourself. Everyone compromises, likely some outcome happen. You need to deal with OG also. It happen in this debate.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? So if you say that the moral value is you want to compromise, that also happens within opposition. If you care about yourself, you also want to compromise with other people. This principle of reciprocity that CO took one step further by arguing that there are certain events outside your locus of control. At the end of this debate, Speaker, before that, the one thing that I want to point out that doesn't really fit in within the idea of care is the existence of power structures. So within both government teams, they argue that power structures is one that is bad, and the existence of laws should not exist within a world where people care about other people and you don't need to be protected from other people. I think the response to this that Saraj also gives you in his speech that he implies by saying that people have different moral values is to say that at the point where you decide and there's a zero-sum game between what you should care about other people and what you should not care about other people, means that there needs to be a unified morality in the system of a power structure to decide what is good and what is not good. How then do you decide what is good and what is not good? Assuming the best case scenario where everyone within that community cares about other people, this means to say that the power structure and the law system is equally as discriminatory towards people, because the people who are making the people in power who are making the decision care for the people who are around them the closest. On the comparative with outside of the house, I think within the concept of self-interest, when you have like people within society fighting for what they believe in, when you have people within society like forming up together and caring about the self-interest, we are far more likely to get a fairer system which may not sound very good, but in actual fact provides more utility towards people at the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate at the end of the day needs to be assessed on which vote provides more utility. And because CO was able to prove to you that your locus, that you were far better able to impact the world, the people around you positively if you cared about yourself. First, we think that prioritizing yourself and your locus of control is far more likely to create a world that is better.
Thank you, everyone across the house. And wait for awarding. Zero.
Let's